Hello, creative people. This video is about Scrivener, importing into Scrivener, getting your data into Scrivener in a way that helps you to get organized. So how do you get into Scrivener? Well, there are lots of different ways. So this is just an intro into looking at getting your writing into Scrivener, assuming that you have written something in another program and you're putting it into Scrivener. Now maybe you started from Scrivener from the beginning. That's fine. I kind of wish I did that, but I'm halfway into a book project. I've been writing for about 100 days, and importing into Scrivener is definitely what I'm looking at. So if you're looking at that, we're going to talk a little bit about just number one, why Scrivener is so awesome, why it's great for writing a book. If you haven't decided to use it yet, I'll talk a little bit about that. The bottom line is it just helps authors stay organized. Simple enough. Better than Word, better than Google Docs, better than Evernote, better than really anything I've found out there. It's available on the Mac, the PC. It does have an iOS way to, not sure you want to organize your book on iOS on your mobile, but you can definitely get information in there. You can write via iOS. That's important to me. Decent cloud syncing. So it works. So importing into Scrivener, just some of the basics of what I'm going to cover in this quick video. Importing with keeping organization in mind. And I'll show you a quick tip at the end of this. One of the best things is that it comes with templates. And so I'll show you how I built a quick template to help me stay organized. Did a lot of the work for me. A few tech terms that are going to come up that I want to make sure you understand before you get too involved in that. And then finally, an example, which is my example. I know your example is going to be different. Your situation is going to be a little bit different from mine. I understand that, of course it is, but I am writing a book. I'm halfway through. Like I said, I've been writing it in another app called Bear, which is a very simple text-based editor. I love the simplicity of that. Maybe you haven't been doing that, but to be able to talk about it, I'm going to show you what my situation is. And by the way, my name is David Bourne. You can find me at davidbourne.com. If you would please subscribe, especially if you're an author, someone who does a lot of creative stuff. I talk about video and audio a lot, but it's really all about marketing and getting your ideas out into the world. A book is an excellent way to do that. So I'm focusing on my book right now, and that is what I'm talking about. So let's get into the tech terms that you need to know next. Now, first of all, plain text. And now let me switch over here. I'm getting used to this system. So plain text, as I find where I'm going. What is plain text? Plain text is just like I said, plain text is just plain old text. So here's an example. Now notice, I'm not sure you can see this, but up at the top, the name of this program, and I'm on a Mac, obviously. Not sure what you're using, but you can find a text editor on any platform. And they're good to have. Now I'm going to explain why a text editor is good to have. So it just uses text. Doesn't use any fancy formatting really. Just uses text. It keeps it simple. Sometimes when you're importing from one program to another, you need to keep things simple, because if you've ever seen a garbled junk of mess, you copied and pasted something and you just see all this code, you're like, I didn't create that. Well, the computer did. And so talk about that next, but a plain text editor is a good thing to have. BB Edit is one that I'm using. Text Wrangler was one that I used to use, but I believe it morphed into BB Edit. On the PC, it'll come with something. The Mac comes with something, but actually it uses rich text as well. So what is rich text? Well, rich text is what other text editors use, meaning the formatting, the richness of it, all the details, all of that, the font choice, the font size, all those things. They are details that the computer sees to build the beautiful text that we use on screen. That is rich text. It's not just a plain old font or just plain old text. It's got the font, it's got the size, it's got the typeface, which is, whether it's squiggly or plain, you know what typefaces are. We usually call them fonts, although there's a slight difference there. But so RTF stands for rich text format, just so that's another term you may come and see. I talked about copy and paste earlier. So what I'm having to do in my example is get my text from one app to another app into Scrivener. I'm considering copy and paste. If I'm going to look at one little thing that I've written at a time, maybe I'm going to do that. Or maybe I'm going to import it all in. The clipboard. Let me explain what the clipboard is. Okay, so I don't have a good graphic for this, so sorry about that. But if you've got the text that you start out with, right? You've written it. Let's say you've written it in Word, all right? And you go copy, and then you come into Scrivener and you go paste, and it doesn't look right, and things are just funky. One reason you need to know is that the clipboard has taken that rich text with all that formatting with it. It's taken that and is putting it into Scrivener. So in a way, it's importing maybe things you didn't want, but it's the clipboard that holds it in between the two. And so the trick might be that you need to go into a plain text editor like BB Edit, paste into there. So you're going, let me back it up from the very beginning. You go from Word and it automatically copies to the clipboard when you hit copy. And then when you hit paste, it takes that and puts it into whatever app you're going into. If you paste it into BB Edit, something that is going to take that and strip out all the rich text. That's the beauty of it. A plain text editor strips that all away, and then you just get what you've written, not all the formatting, not all the fonts, not all the typeface choices. Okay, so I'm sorry I don't have a better graphic for this. If that's something you want to see later, we will do that later. So Scrivener, whenever you look into it, you're going to have to ask yourself, is it really worth the effort to go and learn all this? It is such a complex program, but it really does have so many features that authors need. So if you're writing a book, it is a really good choice. And like I said from the very beginning, the reason is that it helps you stay organized. So let's flip over real quick and just look at Scrivener itself. So as I said, Scrivener helps you get organized. What I'm looking at here is let's see. Boy, this is hard to see. I need to figure this out. Still working this out, folks. So what you see here, I'm over here on the left of this, is I created a template. I went to File, and I went to New Project from a nonfiction. I'm writing nonfiction, and then I chose General Nonfiction, and I chose that as a template. And what it did, so I named it, and I'm just going to name this a test. What this did is give me a shell that I could dump my stuff into. Notice what it makes for you. So if you're going to import into Scrivener, you need to import into something. And I hope I'm making the right choice, but I think my best thing to do is to create this what do you call it? It's like a container. This is like your program file. All of your stuff is going to live in this in different sections, and what it's going to do is help you to compile it. So you don't have to do this. You could do it from scratch, but whenever you create from a template, if you're writing a novel, there's a novel template as well, a fiction template that you could use. But I would start out there and just run a test. That's what I did. I did this test of a nonfiction template, and I started bringing in my data in a couple of different ways to see what worked best. Now, like I said, I did choose to do a copy and paste on one page, and it didn't really help me that much, but it was something that I explored to do. I brought that straight from my web page. I also have an example. This came straight from a web page. I've been writing my book in this writing community, and so we post our work daily, and so this is where I took one of those pages and I brought it into Scrivener to see what that would look like, and it doesn't look all that different, so I'm not sure I'll do that. What I did was a full import. So I went down here and went to import, and then went to files, and actually that's not true. I went to import and split. Now I'll get into these details later if folks are interested in the specifics of this. This video is really meant to talk about some of those details that are critically important that you understand in terms of the clipboard, the copy and paste, the rich text formatting, the plain text. That's the kind of stuff that you can really get tripped up if you don't understand those terms. So I wanted to cover those first. So I will go into detail of how I actually did my project. Not much detail in this, but what I did was I brought in a text file, and I'm not going to do that here, but I brought it in a way that allowed me to break it up into pieces. It was all in one document, and it allowed me to bring in my daily posts one by one. And so now I can start dragging things around. I mean, this is really the beauty of Scrivener right here, is that you can move stuff around. I can take this day and say, well, that needs to be at the beginning, and this one needs to be at the end. And what Scrivener does whenever you're finally done is it compiles it into a finished document that then can go into your Kindle formatting or whatever it is that you're going to use. And another great thing that I encourage you to do is to read this document. If you go in there and make a template, this general nonfiction document, I encourage you to go and read the details of what this is, how to use the template, how it's going to use tables, how you're going to put your images in there, how it's going to name them. I haven't done all this yet, which is why I don't want to talk about it yet. But I was really excited to see this because this is so helpful. This is what authors made Scrivener. So that's what makes it such an awesome program for authors. So, all right, I know I talked a lot about a bunch of stuff. And anyway, if you want to help join me on this journey through Scrivener, you can find me at YouTube. You can find me at davidbourne.com. If you subscribe and hit the like button, that's a great way to help me out, of course, but it also helps other people like you find stuff. There's so much content out there, and subscribing and liking tells the algorithms that we are out there and hopefully doing good stuff. Speaking of that, you can find me. I'm David Bourne at davidbourne.com. Hit me up if you have any questions, and I will see you out there. Thanks, folks. Bye.